Alright, so today I'm going to tell you about something that really I should have honestly made a video on this a lot earlier. So the teacher that I found online was Bob Proctor. You guys probably heard about him. He's actually from the movie The Secret, and apparently over 500 million people have seen that video, or that movie actually. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about something that really grabbed my attention. So what is self-image? What is self-image? Right? What is self-image? And why it's important. So, now if you've never heard of this before, I was the same way. I was thinking like, what exactly is self-image? And you might think to yourself, well, maybe it's your appearance, right? Like what you look like physically, right? And I did think about that, because it's like, okay, so I look a certain way. But then I went deeper into what exactly does that mean? And Bob Proctor, he explains that there's actually two different forms of self-image. So first of all, if you thought the self-image of what you physically look like, that is one of the images. So it's actually called the exterior image, right? And the exterior image, right, it's pretty much what you can see on other people. You can see the outside, right, the actual physical of whatever the person's wearing, you know, how thin they are, how overweight, if they're muscular, right, you can see that part. But then you have the inner self-image. Now, this is a little bit going to be a little confusing, but I'm going to try to break it down for you in this video. So think about it, right? So let's actually just write it on the board right here. So, because we're doing this as we go. So the exterior image, right? Exterior image, right? This is pretty much, you know, what we were talking about before, where it's, you know, however you can see someone, however other people can see you, right? So this one I would say is a lot easier to understand. You know, you might have never heard of self-image, but you've probably heard of exterior image. I mean, or maybe you haven't heard it that way, explained that way, right? But think about it. Exterior image, it's literally everywhere. You don't really have to. Now, you might be subconsciously thinking about it, like, oh, you know what? I really like what this guy's wearing. Like, I love the outfit that he's wearing. Or, you know, or maybe same thing, vice versa with a woman, right? You could think, oh my God, I really love the outfit. I like the figure, whatever, right? That's the exterior image. So that's a lot more easier to understand. But then when we come over here, right, the inner self-image. Now this is where it gets a lot more complex, but honestly it's pretty exciting. So there's this guy named Dr. Maxwell-Maltz, and he's actually the author of Psycho-Cybernetics. I still have not yet to read it, but I do want to read it, mainly because Dr. Maxwell-Maltz, I'm going to write it up here so you guys know the name. Hold on, let's use a different marker, you know, so we can give him credit where credit's due, right? Dr. Maxwell-Maltz. So this guy, oh shoot, Maltz. All right. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, right? Now, this guy is the creator of self-image. He also discovered this, I believe it was 1940. So if you want to do your research, due diligence, you could do that too. But pretty much, he actually created this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I heard this, I thought, is this like some sci-fi film? Like, is this a sci-fi book? Like, I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite movies is Blade Runner 2049, you know, the sequel to the original. But I was thinking to myself, man, that sounds like a really cool title, like Psycho-Cybernetics. Like, what the hell's going on? But hold on a second, we gotta write that down over here somewhere. So hold on, we got Psycho. I mean, man, that's just a crazy title for a book, if you ask me. Psycho-Cybernetics. I mean, okay, so this is the book, right, that Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he's the one who created that. Now, what's interesting is he has decided that in the book Psycho-Cybernetics, it's kind of hard to say, but you know, it's all good. He has found that the power of self-image, so the inner self, right? We're not really talking too much about the exterior image. We're trying to go deeper and really understand the self-image, right? So Dr. Maxwell Maltz, in 1940, he discovered the inner self-image. Now, what's crazy about it is that, back to what Bob Proctor was saying. So we'll also write Bob Proctor, because Bob Proctor is the teacher. Essentially, he's the teacher. I've been watching his videos and he has been blowing my mind. I'm not gonna lie. And I also, if you've seen my other videos too, you've probably seen that I only started really reading recently. So, I mean, I've read before, but I never really got like into it. And honestly, I really think it's because it's something that I wanted to do instead of, you know, for example, just real quick, you know, when someone tells you about doing something, you kind of have this resistance and you kind of pull back, like, all right, cool, like, you know, whatever he or she is saying could be real, but you probably won't listen to them because it's almost like you're forced. You're like, I don't really want to listen to it right now. Like tell me later, you know. But but in this case, I feel like I developed it. I found it myself. I just started learning, and I was like thinking, you know, what else do I need to learn about life? Like, I feel like I'm missing something. So anyways, let's not go off tangent too far, but I mean, I do that a lot anyways. So now we're going to talk about, oh shoot, is this going to work? All right, I think we got it. Bob Proctor. Now, we're running out of space right here, but it's all good. So Bob Proctor, yeah, he's the guy that's explaining this in a modern terminology, because, you know, 1940, I mean, we're almost like 100 years. We don't really, you know, a lot of things happen when it takes a long time, so it's already 2026, so we gotta try to make it modernized, you know, and make it make sense right now. So Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he's the original creator of the self-image from the book Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, I am going to get that book because I'm really interested in it, but I'm not gonna lie, because ever since I started reading in the beginning of this year, I've been reading just so many books, and I honestly, I had to stop buying books. I never thought I would say that, but I had to stop buying books because I have about, like, my rule is I'm only gonna focus on 5 books, and then once I read like 3 or 4 of them, and then once I only have like 1 or 2 books left, then I'll start buying new books. So anyways, so Bob Proctor, he's the teacher, but he's explaining Dr. Maxwell Maltz, right? He's explaining this guy's, you know, understanding, like what he figures out. So to break it down a little bit, is the psycho part of it, right, is Dr. Maxwell Maltz explains that the psycho portion is being the mind, so the study of the mind, and then the cybernetics part being the science of control and communication. Now, we're going to go a lot deeper into that. So what exactly does that mean? You're thinking like, what the heck is that? I mean, honestly, I was confused too, but don't worry, it's going to get a lot better. All right, so also, there's this diagram I really want to write here. Hopefully I have enough space. I think I do, to be honest. But I want to make sure you can see everything. So if you're taking notes with me as you're watching this video, I'm going to erase this part right here because we're not really talking about exterior image anymore. I was just trying to explain to you that there are two different images of what the self-image is. The self-image versus the exterior image. So when we're talking about just images in general, there's two different versions, at least based on the Dr. Maltz guy, right? So, but we still want to keep this. What is self-image and why it's so important? So I'm going to erase this part too, right? We'll keep this part up here though, the psycho-cybernetics. Now, this thing is really, this is this diagram that I keep seeing from Bob Proctor, and I just like, every time he explains any kind of thing, like, you know, he talks about like success or like to change your mind, like what does that mean? And I keep seeing this diagram. So I'm going to give you a good example. So first of all, you got this right here, right? You got a circle, and pretty much you're cutting in half, and this top part right here is going to be, hold on with my notes real quick. All right, this part right here is the conscious mind. Conscious, right? So your conscious mind is the main top half right here. So real quick too, this small little circle that I have right here, this is what Bob Proctor would call, this is your head. So this is your whole brain. So the top half is the conscious part. And the conscious part is pretty much anything that you consume, anything that you listen to, anything that you read. You can listen on the radio, you can listen, well, people don't really listen to radio that much these days. I mean, some people still do. But pretty much whatever, so for example, the modern day age of this is like, if you're watching a YouTube video, right? Whatever you're bringing into the brain, the top half, that's the conscious mind. So the conscious mind, whatever you put in, so you know that famous thing when people say, put garbage in, get garbage out. So obviously we don't want to do that. The point of this here, to understand the self-image, right, and the psycho-cybernetics of this teaching, is you have the conscious mind, which this controls whatever you're putting into your brain physically, right? Now, or sorry, not physically, mentally. Right, so then we have down here the subconscious. So hold on real quick. The subconscious. This is insane right here. Like I was like thinking, what the hell? So imagine your brain, right? Every single person on planet Earth. Maybe I'll talk over here. So every single person on planet Earth, right? They have the conscious mind, which is the top half. Then they got the subconscious mind, which is the bottom half. Now, the top half here is like, you know, think about it, right? You got the YouTube, let's say you're watching YouTube videos. Let's say you're reading, you know, you read books or something. Or even it could also be, let's say you're also, you're listening to other people, right? So you're listening, you're watching videos, you're reading. This is the conscious mind. So whatever you're getting in the physical world, right away, well, it could technically YouTube, right? This is it's the physical world, but you're getting it online, right? So anyways, you're getting it directly into your conscious mind. So the subconscious, you might think, well, what exactly is that? So the subconscious, anything that you are constantly getting from up here, so whatever you listen to, if you only like to listen to what other people say, then that's what's going to go in your conscious mind. But let's just say you only like to read things, right? Then this reading is actually going to go in the subconscious, and you can't, so the subconscious can't say no to it. It just takes it in. So I'm going to give you a good example because it might be a little confusing, and it was the first time I started watching videos on it. So we're going to erase this real quick. All right. I'm going to give you an example. So imagine this, right? Let's erase this part real quick here. All right, no problem. Live time right here, right? So we got this right here, okay. So back to this, right? The little diagram. So, and then he also adds this part to it. So he goes like this, right? And when I'm saying he, I'm referring to Bob Proctor, because this is the diagram he always puts, but also, again, this diagram is also in the Dr. Maxwell Maltz book on, the Psycho-Cybernetics book by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. So he's the creator, right? This guy's the creator of the self-image, but Bob Proctor is the guy teaching it, because I always see him in the videos. So just so you know who I'm really talking to. So, okay, so then down here, right, this is the body. Okay. So this is the body, and then I'm just going to keep it there for now so that I can explain to you a good example. So assume you're someone that's overweight, right? So let's just assume you're 300 pounds, right? 300 pounds, right? Now, this part of you being overweight, is that right? Okay, overweight. Okay, so overweight is your subconscious. So this part, this is what you're feeling inside. If you're someone that's 300 pounds, you're feeling this inside, right? This part, you can't really change unless you go to the conscious part. So this part up here, what happens is, well, if you really don't like being a 300-pound person, right? Then you think to yourself, well, how am I going to change this? So what you have to do is this part of the mind, which is the conscious mind, right? Okay, we're going to write it right here. So this part right here, the top, you're going to say a decision. A decision is made to diet. Right? So this section right here is going here. So this is how you're taking action, right? So you're taking action over here. But then over here, the 300 pounds overweight, right? You're currently feeling this inside. You're thinking like, oh my God, I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to talk about me being overweight. So you might be someone that, wears baggy clothes. You want to kind of cover the gut, right? And trust me, I was in that same boat. I was thinking like, oh God, I want to avoid social interactions with people. I really just wanted to stay home, play video games, and really that's it. I just kind of wanted to avoid life. And the problem with that, hold on, we dropped our notes real quick. So the problem with that, right, is I'm not going to change who I am. So what we need to do here is a decision is made to diet, right? This is where you can possibly change. Because remember before what I was saying, when let's say you listen to other people, you watch YouTube videos, or you read, right? That part is you can take it in, right? It's a direct, if you're reading something, you're reading a book, let's say the Psycho-Cybernetics, you're reading that book in the conscious mind. You're taking it in, and now you're thinking to yourself, what you're doing is you're changing your paradigm. So real quick, I didn't really bring this up, but paradigms are how this is happening right now. So the conscious mind, right? You currently, whatever it is you do, whatever you consume, whatever kind of content you watch, if you read books, you watch YouTube videos, this is your current paradigm, right? But down here, the subconscious paradigm is something that you want to probably change, not necessarily, because if you're 300 pounds and you're overweight and you're thinking, I don't really care, then you don't need to change the conscious because you're good where you're at, right? But honestly, I think most people probably don't want to be 300 pounds. So what they do is they go up here to the conscious mind and they need to change it. And what this is right here, right? So this is the body portion. So this is the mind, right? You got the top half, the bottom half. You go down here to the body. And what you need to do down here is you need to take an action. So if you move this over here, this is the action portion of it, right? Action. So you're taking action because you're telling yourself, well, I don't feel good about this. I don't want to be 300 pounds, right? That's your subconscious. The conscious thinks, well, you know what? I am going to change. A decision is made to diet, right? And now you're taking the action. It goes down to your body. So you got the mind, then it goes down to your body. You're taking the action physically, right? And then guess what happens? Results. So this is really good because now you get results. So let's say you started with 300 pounds and then after X amount of time, let's just say 6 months, right? Or yeah, let's say 6 months, right? I mean, this would be impressive. Actually, let's say a year. So let's say after a year, now you weigh 150 pounds. Now this is impressive, right? You lost 150 pounds in a year, right? You think, wow, this is so cool. This is impressive. You step yourself on the scale. You look, you're like, oh my God, I'm only 150. I'm so proud of myself. I feel so good. But then this is the crazy part. So now we're going back to self-image, right? So the problem is, what happens when most people do this? I mean, this is phenomenal, right? If you lose 150 pounds in 1 year, that is insane. I mean, kudos to anyone who does that. Now, this is where it gets really tricky and really detrimental if you don't really understand what self-image is. Because the problem is here, right? So let's assume, right, this is you. You lost the weight, you lost 150 pounds, took you a year, phenomenal, everything is good, right? Now, if you're not careful, what a lot of people do is they will slowly go back to 300 pounds. Because let's assume you're 150 pounds right now, right? You're thin, you're healthy, you look good, you're confident in yourself now. But if you don't change your self-image, if you're not changing who you are as a person, right? The self-image portion. So if you're not changing your subconscious, so even though you weigh 150 pounds right now, if you're not changing your subconscious right here, right? Then guess what happens? Every time you see food, let's just say, for example, oh my God, you know what? I'm gonna have a donut. I'm gonna treat myself out. Because now I've already achieved the goal of 150 pounds. I feel good, I look good, I have more confidence. But this is the scary part. So if you're 150 pounds and you weigh yourself on the scale and you think, even though I look good and I feel good, but if you don't change your self-image, right, then this is what might happen. You might think, wait a minute, this scale says I'm 150, but I'm not a skinny person. I'm actually a fat person. Like, what? So this is the crazy part, right? Even though this person has lost the weight and they're 150 pounds, deep down inside, in the subconscious mind, they still think they're 300 pounds. So what do? They end up doing what a 300-pound person would do. So they're probably going to be eating a lot more than what a skinny or a fit person would eat. So also the problem is they start eating tons and tons of chocolate, candy, donuts, ice cream, any kind of sugar. And even if they eat, let's just say they're eating good food like rice, they have their chicken, they have their broccoli, they might overeat, because the problem is they're still, in their subconscious mind, they believe that they're 300 pounds mentally. So this is the self-image, right? This is why it's so important. If you don't master this self-image, you're going to think to yourself, well, even though I weigh 150 pounds, I subconsciously think I'm 300 pounds. So then what happens is you gain the weight back. And all that progress is completely gone. I mean, it's really crazy. Now, I can tell you a little quick story about my own life, is that over the last, I'm going to say the first time I ever thought about really trying to change my weight and lose weight is, I believe it was in 2017. And some guy told me, now he didn't tell me about self-image, but he was telling me that I could do intermittent fasting. And I thought, what is that? And he said, well, pretty much you're eating at a certain time window, where for the most popular one was 8. You eat within 8 hours, and then for 16 hours you're fasting. And then, just to make it short, is when you're fasting, you're not eating. So once your body goes into when your body goes into a fasted state, which takes about 12 hours, then I start losing a lot of weight, because then all the fat that's in my body, it starts eating away, because the body still needs energy to eat. But because you're essentially starving yourself, you're losing the weight really fast. Now, what was really cool was I lost about 60 pounds back in 2017 in only 3 months. I mean, 3 months was insane. Now, you know what's crazy though? Unfortunately, I didn't know what self-image was. And because of that, even though I lost the weight and I felt so good, just like in this example right here with your 300 pounds, right? Subconsciously, even though I lost the weight and I look good in the mirror, what did I do? I started eating insane amount of food, because I had to compensate. Because in my head I thought, well, you know what? I lost all this weight. I feel good. But no, I didn't change my self-image. So I still thought I was a fat, overweight person. Now, I wasn't 300 pounds, but I was like, I don't even remember. I think it was like 240 or 230 or something like that, which isn't that much. I mean, it depends on your height and, your structure. Everybody's got different genes, right? But I had a big gut. So the problem was, even though I lost the weight and I was down to, I think I was down to like, let's just say I was 240, and then I lost 60 pounds in 3 months, so I would have been, 180? Yeah, I mean, that was pretty thin compared to back then, right? So even though I was 180, I thought, well, you know what? I didn't change my self-image. So literally, even though I didn't know about this, and this is how a lot of people, I think, really live their life. They don't really know what self-image is. They're just thinking like, well, I lost the weight and now I'm going to reward myself. And then because they still think they're that overweight person, that overweight version of themselves before, even though they lost all this weight, they're thinking and acting as someone who's overweight. So what you need to do instead is you focus on the self-image. Once you know about it, right? Then when you do lose that weight and you're 150 pounds, right, from 300, what you do is now you think to yourself, subconsciously, you think to yourself, well, what does a thin, healthy person do? How do they act? They're probably active. They probably do some form of sports. They probably go on walks. They go on hikes. They're out in the world. They're physically active, right? And then you might think, well, what does a healthy person or a thin person eat like? Well, they're probably eating the essentials that they need. They're really only eating when they're hungry. They're not mindlessly just eating random snacks. They're not drinking a lot of soda. I mean, if they do have some kind of sugar or sweet, right, it's probably once in a while. Not if you're 300 pounds, you're probably thinking about it all the time and you're always eating like that. So just by this example, hopefully this can help you understand the power of self-image and why it's so important. So anyways, stay true to yourself and life will get better.